Hello 7th and 8th graders, we're here with a video on lesson 3.2 and 3.3 on Pythagorean Theorem. So the Pythagorean Theorem is only for right triangles, and it's important that we know that because if you try and do it for a different type of triangle, it will not work. Here we go. We have the Pythagorean Theorem says that a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And in this, our a and our b are both considered the legs of the triangle. They're the shorter sides. The c squared is referring to the longest side, which is the hypotenuse. And we can use the Pythagorean theorem to find a missing leg, to find a missing hypotenuse, or to decide whether or not a triangle is a right triangle. If we're given all three of these measures, we can figure out if it works, and then if it does, we know that it's a right triangle, and if it doesn't work, then we know that it is not a right triangle. So, first type of example. A first type of example might ask you to find the missing hypotenuse. And sometimes it's not going to tell you that this is the hypotenuse. It'll just say that it's the diagonal connecting them. Like an example would be if it gave you the perimeter of a fence and then it asked you to find how long it would take you to walk from one corner to the other corner. So the perimeter would go all the way around one corner to the other corner across the field would be the hypotenuse. So you're going to, in the word problems, have to figure out, is it missing a hypotenuse or is it missing a leg? In this triangle that we have right here, I'm going to look for my right angle, and then I'm going to draw a little arrow to know that this is where my hypotenuse is, my C. So when I solve it, and I know that we did this in class today, but a squared plus b squared equals c squared. I start with my formula, and then I plug in what I know. In this case, I know 8 squared plus my b is 15 squared, and I could change the order of those. It would not matter. Then I'm going to do 8 squared is 64 plus 15 squared is 225 equals c squared. Then I'm going to add 64 plus 225, which is 289. So now I have 289 equals c squared. Writing out all of these steps is a great way for me to make sure that I don't get mixed up and I don't skip a step. So right here, my answer isn't 285 because c is not by itself, it's still being squared. I'm going to square both sides, and then I'm going to use my calculator, and I'm going to do 289 shift square root key is 17. So C equals 17 centimeters. Sometimes when we're finding a missing hypotenuse, you will see that the formula is rewritten as, I'll write it down here, C equals a squared plus b squared, and they put all of this in a square root symbol. You could do that if you want to, and then fill in the a squared and the b squared and take the square root of it. It's the same thing. If you do it this way, then you only need to memorize one formula. If you memorize it this way, then you're going to need to memorize 3 formulas depending on what value is missing. All right, here's the second type of example. So finding a missing leg of the triangle. So I have 9 centimeters is one leg, B is the missing leg, and then over here, I know it's my hypotenuse because it's the longest angle and it's across from the right angle. And so I'm going to write out again, I've got a squared plus b squared equals c squared. I'm going to plug in what I know, so my a is going to be 9 squared. I don't know what b squared is, and c squared is 15 squared. 9 squared is 81, plus b squared equals 225. Now, to get b by itself, I'm going to subtract first. I'm going to do this in the opposite order of PEMDAS. So because I normally would multiply or divide or do exponents first, I'm not going to do that first. I'm going to do that last. And instead, I'm going to subtract because I'm undoing it. So now I have b squared equals 225 minus 81, which is 144. And then I'm going to undo that with the square root. And my answer is b equals 12 centimeters. Don't want to forget my label. All right, so that is just the basics of how you find the missing leg or the missing hypotenuse. Tomorrow in class, we're going to focus on word problems. We're going to focus on figuring out what thing is missing and how we can use this to solve very practical real-life problems instead of just being given A, B, and solving for C stuff. So I will see you tomorrow, and we'll be ready to get to work. Actually, I decided to throw in a little challenge to you too. I would like you to try and rewrite this formula, a squared plus b squared equals c squared, where you can solve it for b. Okay, just like we did up here where I rewrote it like that for you. Let's see if you can do it on your own. Try and see from figuring out what you would be doing, how to rewrite it for b. So it says b equals, and then what would go here to solve for it. Okay, this is another way of manipulating and changing formulas to solve for a different value, but it's a little bit of a complicated one. So I'm interested to see which of you are able to meet that challenge. See you tomorrow.